Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wondergoal, the soccer betting podcast from the Action Network. My name is Michael Leboff, and joining me, as always, are my friends and colleagues, Anthony Dabbundo and BJ Cunningham. And this week we have 4 Champions League matches, a handful of Premier League matches, and we'll touch on some Europa League to get you all situated for betting on the footy before March Madness begins on Thursday. So let's build your bankroll here, and we'll start with Manchester United hosting Atletico Madrid. United's plus 120 at home. Atleti's coming in at plus 265. The draw is plus 220. These two are tied 1-1 on aggregate. Heading to the Theater of Dreams. I think we can all agree it was a pretty lucky result for United in the first leg. And they have struggled a little bit with when they've been punching up. They have a minus 3.4 expected goal differential in their matches against Atletico, Tottenham, and Man City. There was a good performance against Watford that didn't end with the result that they wanted and mixed in there. But it seems like United under Ralph Rangnick is doing what they did under Solskjaer, which is they're taking care of business against inferior opposition, and then they're struggling and maybe getting lucky results against better teams. Meanwhile, Atleti come into this one in good defensive form. They've only allowed 4.7 expected goals against in their last 6 matches. And Diego Simeone, we talk about it in every Champions League episode, that this team is just really, really tough to deal with in knockout stages of competition. So I like Atletico across the board. I like plus 265 on the 90-minute money line, and I like them to advance. Right now, United's minus 172 and Atleti's plus 140. So I'm going to take a shot at Atleti to advance, and I'll split my stake on the 3-way money line. BJ, you are always on Atleti in these situations, it seems, with me. Are you coming with me on Tuesday?
Yes. This is, you hit it nail on the head. That was such a lucky win for United in the first leg. Atletico won on expected goals 1.3 to 0.4, out-touched them in the penalty area 21-9. And Atleti even hit the post twice. So it was just a completely dominant performance. Even if you look at, I think in the first half, United had 1 shot and 0.04 expected goals. So Atletico really should have gotten all 3 points. Now they get to go to Old Trafford, where I think we've been saying it quite a bit on this podcast, or at least I have, that this United team has not really changed a whole lot from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Rangnick. The 3 matches that they've played, you hit the nail on the head right there. The 3 matches they've played against elite competition, against Atletico, Man City, and Tottenham, they've only created a total of 1.9 expected goals, but they've scored 4 times in those matches. A lot of it obviously was against Tottenham and Ronaldo doing some wonder strikes from outside the box. But Atletico defensively has been just, typical athletic form over the past month, 4.7 expected goals in the last 6 matches. And for the season, obviously there's 3rd among Europe's top 5 leagues in expected goals allowed. The one thing though, that has been very noticeable for United defensively is defending crosses. Atletico in the first leg completed 3 crosses in the penalty area. João Felix scored 1 of them. Against Man City, they completed 4 crosses in the penalty area. They scored 2 of them. Against Tottenham, they technically didn't complete a cross in the penalty area, but that 1 cross was just a wonderful goal by Harry Maguire. And, United was supposed to be this amazing pressing team under Rangnick. That's why they brought him in. He's the godfather of G-Gen pressing. Against elite competition, United only had a 26% pressure success rate against Atletico, only 13% against Manchester City, and then only 26% again against Tottenham on the weekend. Even though they held over 60% possession against Atletico in the first leg, it meant absolutely nothing. So I am totally with you. I actually have Atletico projected as a slight favorite on the road at Old Trafford. So I'm going to go with them plus half a goal at minus 130. You can really play Atletico any way you want in this one to advance on the money line. Just any way possible, Atletico is going through to the quarterfinals.
I also look at it this way. You're never out of a game against Manchester United with the way their defense is playing. Whereas on the other hand, Atletico gets a lead. They are really tough to break down. And if it's an early goal for Atleti, they're probably going to score again. Like this, that's my thinking here is there's really no way I can picture this game where United are just able to shut them down. And I think, Anthony, that's kind of where you're going here, that this game might be a little bit more high event than a typical Atletico Madrid match in stereotypically is.
Yeah, I think narrative street here is, Atleti's going to go and they're going to park the bus and they're going to try to play for pens for 120 minutes. And I think there's like a chance they do that. and let United have the ball and then dare them to beat them and try to counterattack. And so the one concern here is that Atleti isn't really going for it, but I do think they can have success in transition here. We saw Tottenham. They had a few moves on Saturday that almost came off, that almost turned into goals where they had number situations and they just couldn't quite get the final ball, where it was just a little off. Son slipped a couple of times in transition. He just wasn't sharp. Atleti is the kind of team that can really wreck you in that situation. And it really wasn't like that in the first leg because Atleti did control a lot of the possession at home. So I think as they go now to Old Trafford, I think United will have more of the ball. But I think really this comes down to game state. And I think you mentioned a good point where if United gets a lead here, Atleti has to come out. They have to be more aggressive. Defending cross has been an issue for United. Defending set piece has been an issue for United. If you go back to the match just on Saturday as well, it was a cross into the penalty area that led to the handball that led to the first goal. And then Maguire botching the second one. Going to the City match, again, Maguire's man marking wasn't quite good. The United fullbacks are pretty bad defensively. And I think Luke Shaw, for as much as people have criticized him this year, he's quite underrated generally. And his absence has made a big difference to how well they're defending out of the left back position. And Dallo, especially, Wan-Bissaka, for as much as we make fun of him going forward, as bad as he is pretty good defensively in one-on-one situations. And I think that's a big key for this United defense and why they've been much worse when Dallo's been there, even if they've been better going forward. So I think all this points towards goals. I'm going against the narrative that that Atleti is just going to park here. Both teams to score minus 115. Now you could wait and try to get a better number live, but the concern is that, say it is 0-0 at half. That's only going to incentivize Atleti to sit even deeper and try to play for penalties, where I do think they have a decided advantage. I know penalties tend to be pretty random, but I don't quite think that's the case when you're comparing Oblak and De Gea and you look at their penalty saving records. I know Oblak's been bad this year. That's a potential live betting angle. If United's clearly not looking like they're going to score and the two advanced prices haven't really changed and you can get, plus 110, plus 120 on Atleti going into extra time, I think that could be a good bet because I do think they have an edge on pens. And as games have gone on for United, they have really started to tire out. We saw that in the City match. We saw that, in other matches against Southampton and Burnley, especially dating back a few weeks now. So I think this all points towards, going against the narrative and expecting some goals. So I took both teams to score minus 115. Again, you could wait live, but there is the risk that if there's an early goal that you're never going to get that price. So that's what I did.
Yeah, one other thing I'll suggest before moving on is Atletico is 44-1 to win the entire competition. I don't hate that at all. And
absolutely.
The thing with this team too is it's
the quarterfinal draw is going to be brutal, though. I mean, who are they
we
really
never
getting?
Know. Who knows? It could end up being Villareal. It could end up
every team left is going to be considerably better than them.
Right, but if
the price, Anthony.
Yeah, it's 44-1, and let's think about where they were. Let's think about where they were when they opened, right? So I just saying I don't hate that. And we can talk more about draws when they come out. Right now, we have no idea who it's going to be. And one quick other thing too is Ronaldo has saved United's bacon so many times, and who knows how to play against Cristiano Ronaldo better than Diego Simeone and Atletico Madrid too. So don't expect them to be found with their pants down when Cristiano Ronaldo is getting to the ball.
He does have quite the history against them, to be fair. But yeah. I don't read into that much, but it is interesting. And that should help the attack for United and hurt the defense, if anything, with his not pressing.
All right, let's move on to Ajax and Benfica, the other Tuesday kickoff. Ajax is minus 255 on the three-way money line. Benfica plus 650, draw plus 425. Ajax is minus 550 to advance, and Benfica is plus 390, despite a 2-2 draw in the first leg in Portugal. All three of us have Ajax futures, and we've been on this team since before the Champions League group stages started. They were both unlucky and unimpressive in their 2-2 draw against Benfica, I would say. And it does help, I think, a little bit that they were able to play out a high event match in that first match, right? Like that, if you get what we saw in the first leg again, you would say that Ajax deserves to be a big favorite, right? Like we're looking at almost 4 expected goals between the two teams, and that's just not going to suit Benfica. However, I think the market is probably too high on Ajax here in a 90-minute leg. I think the betting value from a betting value perspective is on Benfica. I wouldn't go near Ajax at this number. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, a lot of CLV down the drain for me in the last leg. Just not sure what Ten Hag and Ajax were doing. You know, they had a 2-1 lead. They were clearly the better side in the first half. Created 2 big chances. There was a fluke own goal that went against them. But the second half, I mean, the fullbacks over and over and over and over again got caught up the pitch. And it was just counterattack after counterattack after counterattack. Everyone looked like they were going to score, Benfica. And then the goal ends up being pretty fluky, where it's a long hit, it's saved, and then there's like a sprint foot race to see who can get the rebound from outside the penalty area, and then it gets tapped in for Benfica. Ajax has shown some concerns now, I think, and you know, the hole they have in defending these counters when the fullbacks get so far up the pitch that they want to play this possession passing football, that they can be exposed. And I think that's a concern now, and something we'll have to monitor as we get to the next round, because I do think overall Ajax is now at home. They just need a win. I think they will win, but that issue of killing off the game keeps me from backing them in any kind of alt spread type, you know, -1.5 type deal. Don't really have a ton of interest there. Do think Ajax will win this, but a little bit concerned about Ajax defensively. And I think going forward, they will score. I mean, they ripped apart Benfica on multiple occasions in the first half. They hit the post twice. So there was plenty of chances for them to score. They should have made it 3-1. They didn't, and then they paid for it. We've seen that movie before. I'm not worried about Ajax in this leg. I think they go through, but I don't have any action here.
All right. A weird one here on Wednesday between Lille, out of Ligue 1, they're +320 hosting Chelsea, -110. The draw is +260. Chelsea is dealing with just a lot of weird stuff off the pitch with the Roman Abramovich sanctions. They are flying to France for this. There was some talk about how they would get there because part of the sanctions is their away travel is limited to 20,000 euros. They didn't seem, granted, the competition has been against Norwich City and then Newcastle. They didn't seem too distracted, I guess is the best way to put it. Not that you would be able to tell. In those 2 matches, they looked good. And it could be that this is a galvanizing moment for the players on the field more than anything. Who knows? It's really hard to work what's going on into a handicap. So almost not worth trying to. However, I will say that as much as I want to back them, Lille, I just don't think they're built for this kind of game state. They are a very good defensive side, probably the best defensive side in Ligue 1, maybe just behind PSG. But this is just, I mean, they're chasing 2 goals. They're 15-1 to advance, and Chelsea's -5,000. I just don't think that this game state will suit them. So I'm going to be passing. BJ, anything here?
Ultimately, probably be passing. Might play another under 2.5 goals around -115. I mean, the first leg, Chelsea wasn't really actually that dominant. They scored off the corner in the 8th minute, but throughout the whole 90 minutes, they were outshot 15-10 by Lille. Possession was about 50-50, and the expected goals battle was only 1.2 to 0.5 in Chelsea's favor. And the biggest problem that I saw that Chelsea had was they really struggled defending Renato Sanchez up the right wing. I mean, he punished Marco Alonso and Rudiger countless times, 5 carries into the final third. It's just without Ben Chilwell, they just don't have a wing back that can defend on the left side against a team that actually has a good right, midfielder or winger going forward. For me, I don't know if this is going to be a galvanizing type situation for Chelsea. I think it's more of just kind of a get through it type of match for them. This is their 5th match in 2 weeks. They're up 2-0 on aggregate. Who knows the travel hotel situation? I was doing a little bit of reading on how much it costs to travel away in the Premier League. Typically, for some of these bigger sides, it's around 20,000 euros to stay in a luxury hotel, which the players want to stay in and that covers their food and everything. But so are they going to have to stay in hostels in Lille? I don't really know what's going to happen. But with the aggregate being 2-0, I really think that Chelsea will probably just try to end up sitting deep and looking to hit Lille on the counter and go back to the dominant defensive side that we saw under Tuchel. last season. Lille, they've been in somewhat of a rut offensively over the past 2 months, only averaging around 1.2 expected goals per match in their last 12. What's even more concerning is during that time, they played Marseille, PSG, Lille, and Chelsea, and they're only able to create 3.1 expected goals in those 4 matches. So given the fact that Chelsea's up 2-0 on aggregate and they don't really need to press forward, I do think there is some value on under 2.5 at -105. Lille plus half a goal at -110 is potentially has a little bit of value as well. I just really don't see Chelsea trying to go and win this match and really trying to go forward. I really just see them sitting deep and just trying to see this match through.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. It's Anthony, you have like 20 seconds to talk about this one, or are you passing?
Yeah, Lille had the same number of shot creating actions, almost the same number of progressive passes, managed 9 shots in the first half, came close on a few counters, like BJ mentioned. They were closer than that scoreline suggests. It's actually kind of similar to Liverpool Inter for me, where I thought in large stretches Lille were relatively comparable to Chelsea and then just couldn't quite, in the key moments, Chelsea was better. They won the match. Lille has nothing to lose here. They're playing for it. Team total over, maybe, plus a half, maybe. I think Chelsea's a little inflated. The number has come down. Chelsea opened -130. I missed that number. I wish I had gotten it and faded them there. Now they're down to -110-ish. Not a ton in it for me, but definitely a lean toward Lille and maybe a live team total over or something if that number comes down and Lille looks dangerous.
The other Wednesday game is Juventus. They're -110 favorites at home, hosting Villareal, the Yellow Submarine versus the Old Lady. Villareal is +320. The draw here is +255. This one was also 1-1 on aggregate. Juve still is -210 to advance. Villareal is +168. This I kind of look at this one similarly to the United Atletico showdown, where there's probably some name brand inflation going on here with Juventus. The early goal, it was Lahovic scored in the first minute or second minute for Juventus in the first leg, and then from that point on, I thought that Villareal were good. They were impressive. The expected goals bear that out, and Villareal has been really good defensively lately. They've allowed less than 1 expected goal in each of their last 4 matches, including the Champions League match against Juventus. So I think a shot on Villareal on the three-way money line +320 and to advance +168. I think you might be able to find a better number as we get closer to kickoff there. Give me the Yellow Submarine. I think this is a really tricky spot for a Juventus club that's still they're just not on the same level as the true elites this season. So I have no problem trying to take them on here. What about you, BJ?
Absolutely, Michael. This is another unbelievably fantastic spot for Villareal, who is drastically undervalued here against Juventus. Yeah, Juventus scored 30 seconds into the first leg. You hit the nail on the head. Remaining 89 minutes and 30 seconds, Villareal completely dominated them. It was 1.1 to expected goals to 0.5. They outshot Juventus. They outtouched them in the penalty area. But the biggest thing, and what we've been harping on for a while now, is Villareal over the past 3 or 4 months has been one of the best teams in all of Europe by expected goals. Since December 10th, Villareal averaging 1.95 expected goals for per match, only allowing 0.93. On the flip side, Juventus over that exact same time span, only averaging 1.1 expected goals per match while allowing 1.05. So they've been really just an average team over the last 3 months. And the thing about Juventus is, their defense really isn't at the elite level that we've seen in years past, especially in Serie A and the Champions League. In Serie A, they're 9th in shots allowed per 90, 8th in box entries, and 10th in crosses completed their own penalty area. So I think it's a little crazy that Villareal is this significant underdogs, especially what we saw in the first leg. I actually have this match projected really close to a pick 'em. So I love Villareal any way you can get them. I'll take them plus half a goal at -105, but really to advance on the money line, there's just so much value in Villareal in the second leg.
Yeah, Anthony, I think you're going to make it 3 for 3 here.
Yeah, we all backed Villareal in the first leg and they drew. And I don't really see anything that happened in that match that makes me change my opinion of either team. So let's go to what's happened since. Villareal smashed Espanyol 5-1, 3.8 expected goals. They did lose to Osasuna, pretty poor performance there. And they beat Celta Vigo over the weekend. So overall, not much has changed in my opinion of Villareal since that match either. But Juventus, I mean, I've seen they've been downgraded considerably. They conceded 2 goals to Empoli. They lost the expected goals battle to Sampdoria. They were marginally better than Spezia. Those are 3 of the 7 worst teams in Serie A. They had a plus 0.9 expected goal difference across those 3 matches. And the one decent match they played, one decent team they played, Coppa Italia semifinals, outshot 22-6, scored an own goal just before stoppage time to win 1-0 against Fiorentina. This Juve team continues to underwhelm in their underlying numbers. I just don't really see what everybody likes about them so much. And I know Vlahovic will score again and he'll ruin me. That guy owns me. But he's going to cool off at some point. The performance continues. He's only had 2 shots in the first match. So think about that. He scored a goal on his first shot in 30 seconds into the match. He took 1 shot from outside the box. Villareal did an excellent job of keeping him in check. And you mentioned it, BJ, you know how they've been a truck in Spain. Well, over the course of the entire season, plus 0.61 expected goal difference per 90 in Spain versus plus 0.38 expected goal difference in Italy. It's not that easy, but Spain's a better league. They have better performances in that league. And Villareal's pressed well. So I think they'll be very comfortable playing on the counter here. Juve's going to have to go win it. Pressure's on them. They're the favorite. I'm going with the underdogs as well. So I think they get this into extra time at worst, might even win it.
Yeah. We're all on the Yellow Submarine. Hey, they've slowly become a team of the podcast, so no surprise there. And we'll start the Premier League portion. There are 3 games in the midweek with a former team of the podcast. That's Brighton and Hove Albion. They're plus 220 against Anthony's Spurs, plus 130 on the road. The draw here is plus 245. This is the first kickoff on Wednesday, the 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kick before the headliner, which we'll get to next. The Seagulls, they're in bad form. Tottenham, roller coaster. This is kind of a weird matchup. I can't get a read on either of these 2 teams at the moment right now. I think I would lean towards Tottenham at the current price, but I'll likely be passing because I think Spurs deserved a little bit better from what we saw at Old Trafford today. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, I lean toward the over. 2.5 goals plus 110. Spurs overs. They've been loot. Bet regret of the year probably was. I was actually looking at the over in the United Spurs game. Was like, okay, I'm going to give it like 15 minutes, then hop in live. I said, all right, we're hopping in live. Went onto the sports book to bet it. Of course, there's a little bit of a delay. Then the bet locked, and it read Man United 1, Spurs 0. I looked up, Ronaldo hit a banger into the top corner, and I was like, well, I guess we're not betting the United Spurs over. So, my opinion of either team is simple. Spurs have actually had a good amount of success against Brighton going forward. They played in the FA Cup not that long ago in January, and Spurs created a ton of chances in that match. They were really able to break through Brighton. When you press and you try to come out and play Tottenham, the space gets opened up in behind, and that's when Spurs are at their best. Someone asked Frank Lampard how he feels about that after Monday's debacle, and you can even go back to the City match, same thing, and Leeds when Spurs scored 4 goals. I think that's a matchup thing where Spurs are just very good at that. And the defense continues to have issues with crosses, and that's a Brighton thing. They love those cutbacks, they love those crosses when they're able to get them. So I think that you even throw in the regression indicators. Spurs have certainly heated up offensively, as we said they would. Brighton have not. They're a little bit on the Spurs path, and they've been missing all their chances of late. Hasn't been the case all year, but it's been the case of late. So I think the indicators all point toward the over here, and that's where I would look. 2.5 plus 110.
BJ, you have a slight lean, I guess, towards your Seagulls here. I do think Anthony bring up a good point. Like there's a way to play against Spurs and there's a way to not play against Spurs, and Brighton only know how to play one way, it seems. So that it does give you a little bit of trepidation here. But BJ, you're not that scared.
No, I mean, the numbers got to get there for me. Like I have Tottenham projected around plus 150. So you could say a little bit of value on Brighton, but I'm going to need some big time Tottenham's team to play Brighton here. Plus half a goal. It probably has got to be about a minus 115, minus 120 or better. Brighton, I don't really think they're this bad. They've obviously, the underlying performances have been bad over the last 5 matches, and you go through those, you're like, okay, United, they got a red card, even though they were the better team for, the first half. Then they go and play Burnley. Burnley just scores 3 off of 3 low quality chances, beats them 3-0. Pretty poor performance against Aston Villa. Pretty much dominated the match against Newcastle and everything except gave a few big chances. And then, sorry, I'm forgetting their last match. And then against Liverpool this past weekend, they got dominated. So just really bad performances from them, but I just think we've reached the bottom of the barrel on them. But market has clearly not reacted that way. I was kind of thinking Tottenham was going to be, minus 110, minus 115, especially with this meaning a ton to them in the race for not only the top 4, but the top 6 right now. While Brighton is pretty, they're 13th, but they're pretty comfortably in the mid-table. But I just don't really think Brighton can get this much worse. But again, they have City on deck. So it could get much worse for the Seagulls, and they could dip down to 14th or 15th place. But again, the numbers got to get there for me. It's got to be Brighton plus half a goal at minus 120 or better. If it gets there, I'll probably end up playing it, but other than that, I'll probably be passing.
All right. Perhaps the biggest midweek match that we've seen all year. Wednesday afternoon, 4:15 p.m. Eastern, Arsenal plus 340 hosting Liverpool minus 130. The draw here is 3-1. Man City is still minus 330 odds on to win the Premier League. Liverpool's shortened to plus 250. City plays Crystal Palace on Monday. We're recording this before that, so that could change a little bit should that result go one way or the other. This is a tricky spot, though, I think, for Liverpool going on the road. Like you were talking about with Chelsea, and we've said it a couple times already with Liverpool. They have been playing a ton of soccer across a ton of different competitions. That hasn't really slowed down here. And Arsenal, their schedule kind of just opened up for them over February somehow. I feel like they were playing once every couple weeks, and so they will definitely be fresher. However, their fatal flaws, I think, are right for Liverpool to pick off, which is a defense that's still leaking. They are creating scoring chances, and they are scoring. Arsenal is, and Liverpool, as we've talked about, is once again due for some more defensive regression. And I think that is going to give me enough to be on the Gunners here at home at a decent number. Before BJ goes on his soliloquy, Anthony, what do you have here?
I have a very interesting match that I want to watch, and a match that I'm very interested to learn more about, specifically Arsenal. I think we know what Liverpool is at this point. I think we have a very clear read on them, and Arsenal had an interesting strategic approach on New Year's Day when they played against City that was very different from what they had done in the past when they played big 6 teams, most notably the big 3, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, where they had been very, very poor since Arteta took over. It was really an ongoing issue. They would get completely cooked. Well, they went out and they put a lot of pressures on the pitch, and they ran and they ran and they ran, and they played really well. And they were the better side for the first hour until the red card, and BJ's still mad about it. He'll be mad about it 5 years from now. You'll see BJ on the street. He'll say, remember that time they gave us a bad red card against City? But I think if they come out with that same approach, it could go 2 ways. One, they get completely destroyed. And I think there's a very real chance that Liverpool goes to the Emirates and just runs them. But I also think there's a real chance that, we've talked about it, this Liverpool defense that has shown some holes and has shown to have some issues can get exposed a little bit in transition. And I think Arsenal could cause some problems there. That all points to the over as well. The number's right for me on the total, so I'm passing on this match. If you want to chase a money line or an alt line on Liverpool, I don't hate it. I think this game has a lot. The air bars on this game are pretty wide, in my opinion. And so overall, I'm going to pass. I'm going to be watching. Very excited for it. I think it's going to be a great match, but not reading too much into it as of now.
My ultra specific position here is that somebody will be getting a very controversial penalty, and the other fan base will just be freaking out, because these two fan bases, more than any, maybe in all of sports outside of the Toronto Maple Leafs, think that the officiating is out to get them, and it couldn't be further from the truth. BJ, are you do you have the intestinal fortitude to get down on your Gunners here?
No, from the price standpoint, I actually think there's a little bit of value on Liverpool. But that being said, I'm very, very excited to watch this match. Arsenal is the hottest team in the Premier League right now. Won 4 straight, 8 of their last 10. And since December 11th, when the Arsenal run started, it was a 3-0 win against Southampton. The Gunners are averaging 2.3 expected goals per match. That's an elite level offense. Now, normally, like you mentioned, the narrative around Arsenal is they play very well against everyone else. And then when they go play Liverpool, City, and Chelsea, they just can't compete and they get smashed. Well, Anthony already mentioned it, but they pressed City a lot in that first half, and they were the better side for 60 minutes. And that, I think, is going to flip the narrative on Arsenal against a lot of these better sides. From a Liverpool standpoint, they have to be just exhausted coming into this match. This is their 6th match in 17 days. I understand they're all healthy and they have options to rotate their squad, but they also don't at the same time because they're considerably deep in 3 different competitions. So Anthony mentioned Liverpool defensively has been good as of late if you look at their expected goals, but against top 7 sides, they haven't really been that dominant. Against top 7 teams, around 1.4 expected goals allowed per match. Against the rest of the Premier League, 0.79 expected goals allowed per match. Also, the status of Mo Salah is up in the air right now. He's questionable at the time of taping this, but the reality is now that Liverpool has Luis Diaz, they have plenty of depth in their front 3, where I don't think the loss of Salah is completely detrimental to their offense and really affects playing something like an over or Liverpool in this one. So I actually love the over in this spot. I mean, Liverpool's offense it's getting up there with Bayern right now. They've created over 70 expected goals this season, which is over 2.5 per match, averaging almost 20 shots a match, and have created 74 big scoring chances this season. So I have around 3.5 goals projected. So over 3 goals at plus 110 is good enough for me on the over. But again, very, very excited for like the first time in it's maybe been like 7 or 8 years with Arsenal where I literally am excited to sit down and watch this team because they are so much fun to watch. And I really hope Erling Haaland changes his mind about going to City and comes to Arsenal.
You know, it's funny, BJ doing that fan thing there. That makes me want to sell high so badly on Arsenal now.
Stop. No,
it really does.
Nope.
It really does.
Nope.
Because look, and I know that like we do this all the time with Arteta, and like we were getting amped up for the big game against Liverpool last time because Arsenal were on a really good run.
I wasn't. Okay.
And they lost 4-0. You weren't, but people were. People
cautious.
were. You were, but Arsenal fans are very prevalent on my Twitter, and they definitely were pretty amped up and confident about that one. And I think it is important to note they did play twice in January. Liverpool were clearly the better side in the first leg. It was a somewhat rotated squad.
There was a ton of COVID things going on.
I believe there was one COVID case that Arsenal had, and they caused them to cancel a certain match. But I think Liverpool were the better side in those matches, both home and away. So I'm thinking maybe I'll sell high on Arsenal here. But again, Liverpool have also won every match they've played for the last month, except for the Inter loss, which was still a win in aggregate. So I don't have a strong opinion here on the side, but I do think the error bars are wide.
All right. Championship bound Everton are plus 135, hosting Newcastle plus 220. The draw is plus 235. When you look at the Everton squad, it doesn't look near like there are too many good players on this team to go down. That is the narrative surrounding them until you get to the back 4. And when you get to the back 4, you say, oh, well, that is actually a championship defense. And if you have a championship level defense, that can totally undo any club, including one that has a pedestrian rest of the lineup. Still, I mean, I think you guys will both say to me here that the betting value from a numbers perspective is on Everton, but I think that there's more that goes into this right now with this club. Like it's, if you watch the Wolves game today, you watch a team that was just absolutely a shell of itself especially when they went down 1-0. Any bit of adversity that this side faces, they seem to wilt, and their tactics against Wolves, I should say too, were just a mess. 5 in the back, trying to play it out of the back, down a man. It was just not a not a great one from Frank Lampard, though the players outside of Anthony Gordon and Richarlison didn't really do much either. All this is to say that I'll probably be betting on Everton at +135 at home against Newcastle. This is a clear numbers play, but I do want to see the lineup. I think you go John Joe Kenny, addition by subtraction, got picked up a red card, so he won't be available. Hopefully that means Nathan Patterson, who is a bright prospect from Rangers, comes in and breathes some life into a back line that needs it. It's to say, I'm really sad. This Everton team, there's a clear path out of relegation for them, and it's get wins against Burnley, Brentford, Newcastle, and Watford. Get like 3 out of those 4 wins, and you might as well call those clubs Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man City, and Bayern Munich with the way this team's playing. That being said, Newcastle, let's just talk about them for a second. They're having trouble creating offense coming in, so hopefully that plays into Everton's hands with their terrible defense. Only 1.06 expected goals for in their last 2 matches for Newcastle. And this match also, by the way, has the same odds basically as what we saw for Everton and Wolves on Sunday. So I'm a little surprised there too. All right, I should stop. BJ, Everton and Newcastle.
Yeah, very happy to pass here. I would say that from a season-long projection standpoint, that Everton would have a little bit of value, but my sentiment on Newcastle has turned. Even with the loss to Chelsea today, they weren't that bad. I mean, Eddie Howe has somehow gotten this defense to actually play really well. I mean, they haven't allowed over 1.3 expected goals since December 19th. That's a big time improvement from what we saw in the beginning of the season. Everton, Michael, look, they're not going down. Okay. They have a game in hand on Burnley. It's okay.
It doesn't matter if they have a game in hand. They have to play Burnley too at Burnley.
No,
the difference between Everton. All right, let me just look at I'll read the odds to you, right? Norwich City, they're going down. They're minus 100. They're minus like 10,000. Watford minus 650. Burnley minus 135. Leeds plus 175. Everton's 2-1.
I like Leeds a lot more than I like Everton. I had this debate with somebody yesterday.
You like Leeds
I think
to go down?
I think Leeds is better than Everton.
Yeah, me too. I think so as well. And I think that if you can argue that it's almost a coin flip between Burnley and Everton, because Burnley is set up to play in this kind of situation where you're just collecting points and it doesn't matter how you play. Everton is not like that. So I mean,
also I'm looking at the Burnley schedule now. I mean, they have City and they have Spurs
next.
left.
Yeah.
City, Spurs, West
Everton
Ham,
have Chelsea,
Wolves.
United, Arsenal, 2 against Leicester. I mean, trust me, I've looked at all this stuff. I'm telling you that if from a pure betting perspective, if you gave me these 4 teams, first of all, one of the first bets I would make would be Watford to stay up, because Hodgson has this team playing in a way that's conducive to staying up. Their amount of games played is a little concerning, but they still play Everton and they're playing them at home. And I wouldn't put it past Watford catching them. Like, I have zero confidence in Everton to stay up at this point. It's wholly depressing. But yeah, you're saying that they're not getting relegated. I think that
no, they're not getting relegated.
I think it's 50-50, honestly.
No, I understand you're an Everton fan and you're overreacting to this, but a 1-point lead on Burnley with a game in hand on them, they're fine. All right. They have way more talent than Burnley.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter. They have more talent than them.
Yeah, but Burnley has
if you tactics together, it'll be fine. Like
if you were looking for awful managerial, we talked about the new manager bump. They've lost 5 of 6 under Lampard.
Yeah.
And the only win was against Leeds.
One of those losses against City was a very good performance. What's baffling about this, right? It's like they played so well against City, playing a 4-3-3 at home. Did well in the midfield, and then today he goes with a 2-man midfield and 5 in the back against Wolves, who, by the way, Wolves, they were totally at the races. They were really good. Bruno Lage
should be noted. Better XG difference this year. Who do you think has a better XG difference, Everton or Wolves?
It's got to be Everton.
Right, Everton.
It's Everton.
Yeah.
I
mean, they had a good start to the season. They had a legitimately good start to the season where they were putting up good underlying metrics and the results were lagging, and then all of a sudden, do you know how many wins they've had? They've had in their last 19 Premier
One
League
of them's
matches?
against Arsenal.
I'm pretty sure it's one.
Two. It's two.
Oh, the Arsenal match and then the Leeds match. Yeah.
Right.
I
Two wins, and guess how many draws?
I'm gonna go with two.
Two.
3.
They've gotten points in 4 out of 19 matches in the Premier League. That's bad. I mean, that's relegation for them. So,
Well, they're still in the FA Cup.
all right.
I'm here for Everton winning the FA Cup, playing
Yeah,
in
and
Europe
going
next
playing in
year.
Europe.
While also
Roberto
being-
Martinez
being,
with
2-1 favorites to
Wigan.
win the championship.
Yeah. If they go down,
If they
it'll be
lose this, if they lose
Sunderland
this
style.
match and then lose to Watford, is Lampard fired?
I mean, I don't know. It's a great
Yeah,
question.
I think you have to consider it.
I think so. I think so too. If you're, I don't know. Anyways,
Michael,
Anthony-
if they go down, you and me can do a championship podcast every week.
yeah.
I'll come on and bet my. I guess Bournemouth's coming up, so I guess I
Yeah.
can't really do that.
Yeah,
I'm a QPR guy.
We'll talk some
Big
Luton
QPR
Town.
guy.
All right. Before I get
Coventry
too
City.
depressed, I'm going to move us on. Europa League, real quick. 1 minute each. BJ, what do you have for us in Europa League?
Well, I know me and Anthony are on the same side, and Leon Porta, so I'll let him take that one. But Red Star Belgrade Rangers, I love over 2.5 goals at -125. Rangers won the first leg 3-0. Pretty fraudulent scoreline. They scored one of their goals off a penalty. Red Star Belgrade missed a penalty. So the final non-penalty expected goal line was 0.9 for Rangers and 0.14 for Red Star. And the thing is that Red Star, they were due to overconcede goals in the Europa League. During the group stage, they only allowed 4 goals off of 7.3 expected goals. And they're also one of the more prolific offenses outside the top 10 leagues in Europe, and especially in the Europa League year in and year out. In the Serbian Super League this year, they're averaging a whopping 2.56 expected goals per match. That's over pretty much a full season because there's only 4 matches left domestically for them. So it's kind of insane. I don't care what league you're in to maintain that for an entire season, especially considering Serbia's 11th most difficult by UEFA coefficients. Rangers, I spoke about this when they were playing Dortmund in the second leg. They're just not the type of team that's going to sit back and defend for 90 minutes to see out a tie. You saw it against Dortmund. They sat back a little bit, but they were ready to just pounce on the counter every single time they got. And that's why you saw 8.2 expected goals created in 2 matches against Dortmund. So I have 3.4 goals projected for this match. So at over 2.5 goals at -125, I think there's tremendous value there.
Anthony, Europa League.
Yeah, Real Betis fade went well last week. This time I'm going to the under 3 goals at -120. Frankfurt overperforming offensively quite a bit now in Germany. They had a good win today against Bochum, but overall they were a little bit fortunate to win that match in overall when you look at the expected goals in that match. And Betis, again, just keep fading them because I really think this team is playing way over their heads, way over their talent level, and I'm just not liking much what I see from them. They did have a 1-0 win at home against Bilbao, but again, expected goals were pretty comparable, and they really weren't any better than Bilbao was over those 90 minutes. So they're on the fade list. They're atop the fade list, and I'm going to play against both attacks here because I think Frankfurt may be a little more conservative and try to see out this victory at home. Lyon is going to be on Betis to go, try to get back into this, and I don't really think this attack is good enough to do that. So I'm playing the under 3, and then BJ mentioned it. We're both in agreement on this one. Lyon and Porto. Lyon deserved their win on the road. Really, they were the better side. Shots were pretty even. Possession was pretty even, but they created the higher quality chances. But this Lyon team, they've added some pieces in the midfield I like. One specific one is Tanguy and Ndombele. But overall in France this year just has not been at the level that we typically see from them. They're going at home here. They don't even need the win, which I think has to factor in to your handicap here. If they're tied late, again, this is the spot I like in these aggregate matches, Porto will be the one pushing for the goal, not necessarily Lyon. So that's kind of baked into the fact that if it's tied, Porto will be ahead and be pushing for the goal. They'll be the more aggressive side. So with that little draw protection baked in, I like Porto +0.5 at +105.
All right, let's move on to our favorite bets for the Champions League, the last slate of fixtures before we get to the quarterfinals. Moving along here briskly. BJ, we'll start with you.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid +0.5 goal at -130. Atletico was super unlucky in that first leg to draw with Manchester United. They beat them on expected goals, 1.3 to 0.4. They outtouched them in the penalty area, 21-9. And Atletico even hit the woodwork twice. So going to Old Trafford, playing a Manchester United team that hasn't really changed that much from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Ralph Rangnick when they have to play elite competition against Manchester City in the first leg against Atletico, and then against Tottenham on Sunday. Those 3 games combined, they've created 1.9 expected goals, but have scored 4. So they're due for a little bit of negative regression. And also United, the troubling areas for them defensively, they had troubles defensively all season long, but the one area specifically over the last couple weeks or so is defending crosses. Against Atletico in the first leg, they allowed them to complete 3 crosses in the penalty area. João Felix scored 1. Against Manchester City, they completed 4 crosses in the penalty area, scored twice. And against Tottenham this past weekend, Tottenham completed 1 cross, and it was an own goal by Harry Maguire. So having to defend an Atletico team that plays in a 4-4-2 with a lot of their offensive production coming down the wing, swinging and crosses, it's very troublesome for United. And also, United just is not the pressing team that we thought they were going to be under Ralph Rangnick. Even though they were able to hold over 60% possession in the first leg, it really meant nothing. So I have this match projected pretty close to pick 'em. I actually have Atletico projected as a slight favorite. So I love them plus half a goal at -130 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I'm on the same side as you for my favorite bet. I like Atleti plus 140 to advance. I think you could take them across the board, 3-way money line to advance. And I also like them as a live bet if they go down. We spoke about it earlier in the show. Manchester United is a team that if they go up a goal, the game is still live. On the other hand, Atletico Madrid are experts at shutting games down. So if they go up a goal, I don't really like United's chances to claw their way back in what should be a absolute rock fight against Diego Simeone's side. United, they've really struggled against good teams, -3.4 expected goal differential against Atleti, Spurs, and City. And meanwhile, Simeone's side, man, they're looking vintage. 4.7 expected goals allowed in their last 6 matches. So I think you're getting a really good number here on a team that I don't think there's really all that much separating these two sides, even with United playing at Old Trafford. So I'll take the underdogs here, Atletico Madrid plus 140 to advance to the quarterfinals. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going Villareal plus a half at -110 against Juventus. Villareal was the better team for 89 minutes and 30 seconds of the first leg. My opinion of either team didn't really change much from that leg. I had Villareal drawn a bet in the first leg. I will be betting them again in this second leg. Since that game, Juventus has had 4 performances, 3 of them against the 3 of the 7 worst teams in Serie A, Sampdoria, Spezia, Empoli. They struggled defensively in all of those matches, conceded over 1 expected goal, and their expected goal difference across the 3 matches was pretty mediocre. They also struggled in the cup against Fiorentina. This attack is not what it should be given the acquisition of Dusan Vlahovic. He had a great goal in the first leg, but only managed 2 shots, and he's just not quite getting the production that you'd expect them to get in this attack. They're not really, beating teams the way you'd expect. And Villareal continues to be an absolute truck. They have the best expected goal difference numbers in Spain since December. And over the course of the season, they've been better in Spain than than Juventus has been in Italy. So I'm rolling with the Yellow Submarine to get this at least into extra time and maybe even win it and steal it in Turin.
And that should do it for another episode of Wondergoal. We will be back with you guys on Thursday morning. Until then, best of luck with your Champions League and Premier League bets.